Every time a Boeing 787 Dreamliner takes off from Frankfurt, every time an Airbus A350 soars across the Atlantic, every time an F-35 Lightning roars from an aircraft carrier, they're all leveraging a technology that first bent the laws of aviation on August 27, 1939, in Rostock-Marienehe. 86 years of technological evolution, billions of dollars in development costs, thousands of engineers at General Electric and Pratt & Whitney. But the fundamental breakthrough, it happened 5 days before the start of World War II, on a German testing ground, in an aircraft that the world almost forgot. The Heinkel He 178, the world's first jet aircraft. While in November 2024, the newest Jenks turbofans are being delivered for the Boeing 787, while Pratt & Whitney develop the next generation of adaptive engines, while China and Russia desperately try to copy Western jet engine technology. There exists a historical truth that the aviation industry is often reluctant to admit. Every modern turbofan, every turboprop, every military afterburner is based on principles that Hans von Ohain developed between 1935 and 1939. Not as a theoretical concept, but as a flying, functioning aircraft. August 27, 1939, Rostock-Marienehe Airfield, 6:42 a.m. Test pilot Erich Warsitz sits in the tight cockpit of the He 178. Before him, the compact instrument panel. Beneath him, the He S-1 jet engine, developed by Hans von Ohain, built by Heinkel, 840 pounds of thrust, no propeller, no conventional mechanics, just air, compression, and combustion. Ernst Heinkel stands at the edge of the runway. He knows what's at stake, and in 5 days, Germany will invade Poland. The world will be plunged into a war that will cost 60 million lives. But today, on this August morning, something greater will happen. Today, the future of aviation will be born. Watson pushes the throttle forward. The He S-1 engine begins to howl, not the rhythmic hum of a propeller engine, a continuous, piercing scream. The He 178 rolls down the concrete runway, 60 miles per hour, 90, 110. At 135 miles per hour, Watson lifts the nose. The aircraft ascends. For the first time in human history, an aircraft flies without a propeller. 6 minutes of flight time, 6 minutes that would change aviation forever. Watson lands safely. Heinkel runs across the airfield. The technicians embrace. They don't know exactly what they've achieved. They only suspect it. But 110 miles away, in an affluent suburb of Berlin, someone else suspects exactly what this technology means. Hermann Göring, Minister of Aviation, commander of the Luftwaffe. 3 weeks later, on September 20th, 1939, Göring is invited to the Heinkel demonstration. Poland has fallen. France and Great Britain have declared war on Germany. The Luftwaffe dominates the skies of Europe with Bf-109 and Bf-110 fighters, with Ju-87 Stukas and He-111 bombers. All propeller aircraft, all conventional technology. Göring sees the He-178 fly. He sees the He S-1 engine. He hears the characteristic jet scream. His reaction, catastrophic for Germany. We have air superiority. We don't need experimental toys. Focus on mass production, a decision that will prolong the Second World War, a decision that will cost thousands of additional aerial combat engagements, a decision that gives the Allies 4 crucial years. But Hans von Ohain doesn't give up. In 1935, von Ohain, then 24 years old, defended his doctoral thesis at the University of Göttingen. His topic, continuous combustion for aircraft propulsion. While the entire aviation industry was betting on larger propeller engines, on stronger pistons, on more displacement, von Ohain asked a radical question: why propellers at all? The physics was simple. A propeller converts rotational energy into thrust, But every conversion means energy loss. Every mechanical component means weight, complexity, maintenance. What if one could generate rotational energy directly from combustion? What if air itself were the fuel transport mechanism? Von Ohain developed the concept of the centrifugal compressor. Air is sucked in, flung outwards by rotation, compressed, led into a combustion chamber, mixed with fuel, ignited. The expanding gases flow through a nozzle. Newton's third law, action equals reaction. Thrust, no propeller, no pistons, no crankshaft. The problem? Von Ohain was a theorist. He had the mathematics, he had the concepts, but he had no workshop, no budget, no production facilities. In 1936, von Ohain meets Robert Fields, a car mechanic from Göttingen. Fields doesn't understand the theory, but he understands machines. Together they build the first prototype in Fields's garage, with artisanal means, a centrifugal compressor made of sheet steel, a primitive combustion chamber, a hydrogen burner for initial tests. March 1937, the prototype runs, 56 pounds of thrust. Not enough for an aircraft, but enough for proof. The concept works. Von Ohain needs an industrial partner. He contacts Ernst Heinkel. Heinkel, in 1937, is one of the most innovative aircraft manufacturers in Germany. His He-70, his He-111 are technological masterpieces of conventional aircraft construction. But Heinkel is thinking ahead. He has already experimented with rocket propulsion. He has met Wernher von Braun. He understands that the future of aviation does not lie in larger propellers. Heinkel reads von Ohain's exposé. He doesn't fully understand the mathematics, but he understands the potential. He gives von Ohain an employment contract, a private laboratory in Rostock-Marienehe, a team of engineers, unlimited budget. Develop a flyable jet engine, no matter what it costs. 1937 to 1939, 18 months of hell. The first prototype, the He-S1, explodes during ground testing. Turbine blades fail at 13,000 revolutions per minute. Bearings melt at 1100 degrees Fahrenheit exhaust temperature. Fuel injection clogs. The combustion chamber extinguishes in flight. Vibration destroys compressor blades. Von Ohain and his team solve each problem individually. New nickel-chromium alloys for turbine blades, ceramic coatings for combustion chambers, precision ball bearings with special lubrication, multi-stage fuel injection. February 1939, the He-S3B runs stably, 992 pounds of thrust, enough for a test aircraft. Heinkel builds the He-178. Minimal design, one pilot, one engine, just enough structure to fly. Total weight, 405 pounds. Wingspan 23.6 feet, length 24.5 feet. On the 27th, August 1939, Erich Warsitz takes flight. 6 minutes, a top speed of 700 kilometers per hour, a maximum altitude of 600 meters. The Allies have nothing comparable. And this is the turning point of the story. The Allies knew of the possibility. January 1930, Royal Air Force Station Cranwell, England. A 23-year-old flight cadet named Frank Whittle files a patent number GB 347206. Title: Improvements relating to the propulsion of aircraft and other vehicles. Whittle's concept, identical to von Ohain's later development. Centrifugal compressor, combustion chamber, turbine, thrust nozzle. But Whittle's patent is rejected by the British Air Ministry. Too theoretical, too expensive, too risky. Focus on conventional propeller aircraft, the same bureaucratic short-sightedness that will later define Göring's reaction. The same inability to recognize revolutionary technology. Whittle continues to work anyway, with private investors, with minimal resources. In 1937, the same year that von Ohain starts at Heinkel, Whittle successfully tests his first prototype. But while von Ohain has the full support of Heinkel, Whittle fights against British bureaucracy. While von Ohain is flying in 1939, Whittle is still stuck in ground tests. The first British jet fighter, the Gloucester Meteor, doesn't fly until March 5, 1943, 3 years and 7 months after the He-178. The Americans, even slower. The first American jet aircraft, the Bell XP-59 Aerocomet, flies on October 1, 1942, but it doesn't use American technology. It uses Whittle's British engine. The USA has no functional jet engine of its own in 1942. Only the Lockheed P-80 Shooting Star, flown on January 8, 1944, becomes the first operational American jet aircraft. Almost 5 years after the He-178, Germany could have had an insurmountable lead. But Göring's decision in September 1939 wastes that advantage. The He-178 is mothballed. Von Ohain is diverted to other projects. The He-S-3B engine is archived until 1943, when the Luftwaffe loses air superiority, when Boeing B-17 bombers destroy German cities, when Supermarine Spitfires sweep Bf-109 fighters from the sky. Suddenly, someone remembers the He-178. Suddenly, von Ohain's technology becomes relevant again. Suddenly, Messerschmitt is commissioned to develop the Me-262 jet fighter. But it's 1943, 4 years lost, 4 years in which the Allies have caught up, 4 years in which material has become scarce, 4 years in which experienced engineers have fallen. The Me-262 flies for the first time in July 1942. It's faster than any Allied fighter, 870 kilometers per hour. Armed with 4 30mm Mk-108 cannons, a flying nightmare for B-17 crews. But Hitler, in another catastrophic misjudgment, orders the Me-262 to be used as a bomber, as a fighter bomber, not as an air superiority fighter. Of 1,400 Me-262s produced, only about 200 are operational at any one time. Fuel shortage, spare parts shortage, pilot shortage, too little, too late. And then comes May 8th, 1945. Germany surrenders. The war in Europe ends. But the technology transfer is just beginning. Operation Paperclip, the systematic theft of German scientists and technology by the USA. Hans von Ohain is interrogated by American officers in the summer of 1945. His documents are confiscated. His prototypes are transported to Wright Field in Ohio. His drawings are copied. In March 1947, the Americans offer von Ohain a contract. Come to the USA, work for the Air Force, or stay in Germany, in ruins, without a lab, without a future. Von Ohain signs. He becomes an American citizen. He works for Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. He develops the next generation of American jet engines. The irony: von Ohain's German technology becomes the foundation of American air superiority. 1947, the Soviets launch their own operation, Operation Osoaviakim. On the night of October 21st to 22nd, 1946, Soviet troops deport 2,500 German engineers and their families to the USSR, including engine engineers from Junkers and BMW. Their knowledge flows directly into Soviet jet engine programs, the Mikulin AM-5, the Klimov VK-1, the Tumansky RD-9, all based on German concepts, all developed by deported or voluntarily emigrated German engineers. 1950, the Korean War, American F-86 Sabres meet Soviet MiG-15s, both jet fighters, both descendants of German technology. The F-86 designers had studied captured Me-262 manuals, the swept wings, the boundary layer suction, the high-speed aerodynamics, The MiG-15 uses the Klimov VK-1 engine, a direct copy of the British Rolls-Royce Nene, which the British had sold to the Soviets in 1946, in one of the dumbest technology transfer decisions in history. But both F-86 and MiG-15 are based on a fundamental principle. The principle that Hans von Ohain had proven on August 27, 1939. Air, compression, combustion, thrust. 1952, de Havilland Comet, the world's first jet airliner, 4 de Havilland Ghost turbojets, centrifugal compressor design, directly derived from Frank Whittle's work. Whittle's work, in turn, having arisen parallel to von Ohain's concepts. 1958, Boeing 707, the aircraft that democratized commercial aviation. 4 Pratt & Whitney JT3C turbojets, developed with insights from captured German engine documents. Developed by engineers who had studied Me-262 Jumo 004 engines. 1970, Boeing 747, the first wide-body jet aircraft, 4 Pratt & Whitney JT9D high-bypass turbofans, an evolution of the turbojet concept. But the fundamental principle, air compression through rotation, von Ohain's principle. 1988, Airbus A350, the first airliner with digital fly-by-wire control, 2 CFM56 turbofans. Developed by CFM International, a joint venture between General Electric and Safran, GE's jet engine program began with the analysis of German engines after 1945. 2011, Boeing 787 Dreamliner, the most efficient long-haul airliner in history, 2 General Electric GenX or Rolls-Royce Trent 1000 turbofans. The GenX develops 280 to 340 kilonewtons of thrust. That's 700 times the thrust of von Ohain's Hess 1. But the principle? Identical. Air is sucked in, passed through an axial compressor, an evolution of von Ohain's centrifugal compressor, compressed to a 40.1 pressure ratio, led into a combustion chamber, mixed with kerosene. Ignited at 2,912 degrees Fahrenheit, the expanding gases drive a turbine. The turbine drives the compressor and the fan. The remaining gases are expelled through the thrust nozzle. Von Ohain's HES-1 had achieved a 3.1 pressure ratio. Modern GenX engines reach 40.1. But the fundamental thermodynamics, the same. 2024. The Pratt & Whitney XA101 adaptive cycle engine, developed for the next generation of fighter jets. Variable bypass ratio, adaptive thermodynamics, artificial intelligence for real-time optimization, the most complex jet engine ever built. But if you read the patent documentation, if you study the technical specifications, if you analyze the thermodynamic diagrams, you see it. Page 47, Section 3.2, Compressor Design Fundamentals. Quote, based on centrifugal and axial compression principles established in early turbojet development, 1935 to 1945, Hans von Ohain is not mentioned by name, but his fingerprints are everywhere. December 2024. A Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner takes off from Frankfurt Airport. Flight LH-400 to New York JFK. 2 General Electric GenX 1B turbofans. Each engine develops 71,935 pounds of thrust, 350 passengers on board. Cruising speed, 567 miles per hour. Cruising altitude, 43,000 feet. The passengers are thinking about business appointments, about vacations, about family in America. They are not thinking about the technology that is carrying them across the Atlantic. They are not thinking about the 86 years of development that make this journey possible. They are not thinking about a German engineer who forever changed aviation in 1939. But the turbofans howl, the characteristic jet scream, a sound that test pilot Erich Warsitz first heard on August 27, 1939. The same sound that can be heard today at every international airport in the world. March 2025. Lockheed Martin delivers the latest batch of F-35 Lightning II fighter jets to the U.S. Air Force. Each F-35 uses a Pratt & Whitney F-135 turbofan with afterburner, 42,932 pounds of thrust without afterburner, 72 pounds of thrust with afterburner. The F-35 costs $80 million apiece. The entire F-35 program has cost over $400 billion, the most expensive weapon system in human history. But the fundamental breakthrough that makes the F-35 possible, that cost Ernst Heinkel about 500,000 Reichsmarks, approximately $2 million in today's currency. Hans von Ohain developed the first functional jet engine in 18 months with a team of 12 engineers in a single laboratory in Rostock-Marienehe. Pratt & Whitney employs 38,000 people today. General Electric Aviation employs 52,000 people. Both companies spend billions annually on research and development. Both build on a foundation laid by a 28-year-old German engineer in 1939. Here is the question that no one asks. What would have happened if Göring had decided differently in September 1939? What would have happened if Germany had immediately mass-produced the He-178 technology? What would have happened if the Luftwaffe had possessed jet aircraft in 1940? While the RAF was still flying Hurricanes and Spitfires, while the Soviets were still using I-16 and LeGG-3 propeller aircraft? The Battle of Britain. The aerial combat over the English Channel in the summer of 1940, Hurricanes against Bf-109, Spitfires against Bf-110, roughly equal. The RAF loses 1,023 aircraft. The Luftwaffe loses 1,887 aircraft. Germany loses air superiority. Hitler postpones the invasion of Great Britain. But what if the Luftwaffe had instead had He-280 jet fighters? A further development of the He-178, armed with machine guns, 435 miles per hour versus 342 miles per hour, top speed of the Spitfire. A 93 miles per hour advantage. No British fighter could catch a German jet fighter. Every German pilot could decide when to attack, when to withdraw. The Battle of Britain would have been lost in 1940, but Göring decided differently. And that decision saved the free world. Not Allied superiority, not British courage, not American production capacity, German bureaucracy, German arrogance, German short-sightedness. The same mistakes that almost destroyed Frank Whittle in Great Britain. The same mistakes that repeatedly stifle innovation. The same mistakes that delay revolutionary technology until conventional thinkers accept it. Hans von Ohain died on March 13, 1998, in Melbourne, Florida. 86 years old, an American citizen, honored with the Guggenheim Medal, the National Medal of Science, a pioneer of aviation, but in Germany, largely forgotten. The He-178, not in textbooks. August 27, 1939, no national day of remembrance, because it is an uncomfortable truth. Germany developed the first jet aircraft. Germany had a 4-year technological lead. Germany could have revolutionized air warfare, but Germany squandered this lead through arrogance and poor decisions. And today, American F-35s fly with German technology. British Typhoons use German aerodynamic principles. Russian Su-57s are based on German compressor theory. The whole world flies with von Ohain's legacy, except Germany barely remembers it. The next time you board an Airbus A350, the next time you see a Boeing 787 flying across the sky, the next time you hear the characteristic jet scream of an airplane taking off, think of Rostock-Marienehe. Think of August 27, 1939. Think of Hans von Ohain and Erich Warsitz. Think of the morning when the future first flew, and Germany did not notice. If this video has given you a historical perspective that you didn't know before, If you now understand why every modern jet engine carries German DNA, if you recognize how a single technological innovation can change all of world history, then use the Super Thanks feature below this video. Every contribution helps to research and tell more forgotten technology stories. And write in the comments, what other German technology from World War II shapes our everyday lives today without us even knowing it? Rockets, computers, jet propulsion was only the beginning. The story of the Heinkel He 178 is the story of innovation that came too soon, of decision-makers who did not recognize revolutionary technology, of an advantage that was given away through arrogance. But it is also the story of a fundamental principle that changed the world: air, compression, combustion, thrust. From Rostock-Marienehe in 1939 to every airport worldwide by 2025. The legacy of Hans von Ohain, the world's first jet aircraft that the world tried to forget.